You said something interesting before. Let's talk a little bit more about it. If we're looking at the biggest babyface in the business, the biggest babyface star in the business, however you want to quantify it, from let's say 78 to 84, you said Tommy either is or certainly in the conversation for being the top babyface for what, 79, 80, 81.
Somewhere in that one of those years, you've also got Bruno would until he retired in what 80. You can't
1980.
top Bruno, but I mean, in the rarefied air of 2 or 3.
But again, Bruno wasn't a full-time wrestler until he did the Zbyszko program. All of a sudden he was working more matches, but he was kind of semi-retired already. I know it was a different thing by 83, but Backlund had a few years there with wild popularity in WWF. Some of those shows were on WOR Channel 9. That's syndicated. Or not syndicated, but that was on satellite.
Right.
So, I mean, you have to think he's in the argument. The Von Erichs, when would you put them in the argument? Would it be 83? Would it be before then?
They were very popular to a modest audience, and then when the Freebirds thing blew up and they started selling out everywhere, then 83, 84, yeah, they're definitely... And probably the only thing that keeps them as a group, they blow everybody else away. There weren't 3 baby faces in the same territory that individually had that level of popularity anywhere. Probably if there had only been 1 or 2 of them, each one of them would have been even exponentially more popular.
Here's the question. Who's the biggest baby face of 83? Jimmy Snuka? The Von Erichs, and you could pick any one of the 3. But let's just use them as an entity because that's really what we think of them like. Or Hulk Hogan. AWA and New Japan. Jimmy Snuka, that was the year where Backlund started getting booed. And Jimmy Snuka was the most popular guy in the company. If he hadn't murdered his girlfriend and been a complete train wreck, who knows what the future would have been, even though he was already in his 40s. And the Von Erichs, 83... They're on the cover of every wrestling magazine. That's the hottest year ever for Dallas. What do you think?
I don't know if you can separate it to discern one over the other or other two because of the reasons you just said. The Hogan was bigger in more places, got a lot of publicity and drew big money for Vern, which by the mathematics of Vern's territory having bigger towns, they were drawing more money than Dallas, but at the same time, nobody was drawing more money in one fucking market than the Von Erichs, and they did have the syndicated TV, so they were still popular. And then Snuka was in the Northeast where the biggest buildings were, and they were doing that kind of business regularly, but he wasn't as widespread as Hogan was at that. So it's apples, oranges, and rutabagas.
Yeah, and Flair was a great babyface at that point in Mid-Atlantic, but he was a heel everywhere else, so you can't really consider him for the biggest national babyface. JYD, biggest babyface in Mid-South, occasional appearances in other places, but not really at the national level of guys who were seen regularly all over the place. Snuka.
He had been as hot in Mid-South in maybe 81-ish as the Von Erichs were in Dallas in 83. So that had already kind of started dovetailing.
Who was the hottest babyface in Crockett Promotions in 85, 86? Dusty Rhodes or the Rock and Roll Express?
In 85, probably Dusty. In 86, the Rock and Roll Express.
All right. Well, that was a nice little detour there.
I don't, for just one single year in a place, I don't know if any baby faces have ever been as fucking ravingly over as the Rock and Roll Express in the Carolinas in 1986.
You know, one of the members of the Cult of Cornette Facebook group earlier today posted the poster image of the upcoming Netflix series on Dump Matsumoto. Out of nowhere, this was announced. No one knew about this.
Really? I was interviewed for that one a long time ago. I thought I told you about it.
Well, they asked, does anyone know anything about her? And I said, watch some of those matches with her and Chigusa Nagayo from the 80s because of the emotion. You'll never see or hear fans like that again, where it's all female screaming, living
Yeah.
and dying with the babyface.
I remember those tapes again. They had a lot of great wrestling in Japan, just like we did here, and they fucked it all up there too.
You know what the worst thing was about All Japan Women? Whenever you tried to get a tape of one of their shows or one of the matches that you read a rave review about in the Observer or something, because they had like a slick, I don't know how to describe it. The canvas was like very slick looking.
Yes, yes.
As soon as you got anything that was like a generation away from Master, it just looked like a giant wet canvas. And it was just awful to watch those if you had anything that was not perfect quality.
And I'll tell you what, I've been on a few of those in this country, and I hate those fucking things. They are slicker than cum on a gold tooth.